What's this? Connection available.
Yay.
We are live.
Hello.
Hello, Lynn.
Hi, Elise.
All right, guys. So I told you yesterday. Oh, I forgot earrings tonight.
No.
The horror.
You still look beautiful.
Okay. Such a special guest tonight. I think that like every single person in Boca is going to want to attack you after this because they're just going to want to get a piece of you. So this is Lynn Miner-Rosen. She is, ta-da!
Look at all these people coming in. Hi, Karen. Hi, Lee.
ADHD. You're much nicer than me. I just am like, yeah.
No, I say hi to everybody. Karen
Hi, Karen.
Lambert.
Okay, so Lynn is an ADHD coach. Hello? Do we know anybody that would want an ADHD? All of Boca.
Yeah.
Pretty much all of Boca.
Yeah. No.
All of Boca. But the good news is that if you're watching from not Boca, you can actually work with Lynn. All right, so Lynn is an ADHD coach. What is that? Tell everybody what that is.
So I am an ADHD coach. I'm certified with the International Coaching Federation.
Fancy.
And I'm also a life coach and a career coach. And what I do is I specialize in working with mostly high school seniors, college students, and young adults all across the country, nationwide. I help them with time management, organization, study skills, finding the best career fit for them.
I don't know anybody that could use that.
Teaching them how to be a self-advocate.
Ooh.
Teaching them how to be independent and work on their own. Hi, Alexa.
Hi, Alexa. Anyway, okay, so that is what you do, which I think pretty much, I mean, there are just a zillion people that would want to know that information.
Thanks.
And okay, so explain to everybody, what is the clinical definition of ADHD? And is it ADD, ADHD? Who cares? What's the diff?
Well, that's a great question. So ADHD is attention deficit hyperactive disorder, which us professionals in the industry don't like it at all. And by the way, my background is in education. I was a special education for 12 years with the New York City schools. And
she ain't no joke.
No joke. So I worked with a lot of these kids and a lot of the parents. So we don't love the negativity that comes with attention
ADHD,
deficit hyperactive disorder. Now, about 4 years ago, there was a new there used to be ADD, ADHD. Now we have it all together. We call it ADHD.
Okay, that's what I thought.
So there are 3 types of ADHD. There is the inattentive type, which is usually what people think of as ADD. There is there's the hyperactive, which we always think of as young boys that are moving, they can't sit still. And then there are a lot of people that have a combination of both. And at times they could be very hyperactive or can't sit still, but at other times they can be incredibly focused and really zero in on what they want to do.
And I noticed that a lot of parents will say, my child doesn't have ADD because they can get super focused on the things that they like. That's a common myth, isn't it?
That's actually typical ADHD person, is somebody that actually focuses really carefully on something they like to do, but gets distracted or procrastinates on the stuff they don't want to do, or something that they have a lot of trouble with.
Yeah.
The one thing about ADHD that is super important for parents of young kids is not to diagnose yourself.
WebMD? No WebMD?
No, don't go on the internet. There's so much stigma.
There's
so many myths out there. You either have to go to a pediatrician that's a specialist.
So a regular pediatrician.
Who specializes in ADHD.
Okay, so all of the people that are going to the pediatrician and getting ADHD medication, do you have a message?
Do not get, medication is not the first path for success for somebody with ADHD.
Okay.
So if you go to a doctor and the first time they give you medication, you're at the wrong doctor. Medication is not the first line of defense. We always try everything else first, whether it is diet, exercise, sleep. It could be, CBT, cognitive behavior therapy, There's all kinds of different.
Do you do
coaching.
that kind of stuff?
I do cognitive behavior coaching.
Okay.
So it's very similar because there's a lot of questions and answers, and imagine this position or imagine this situation you're in, and what would you do and how would you handle it. But other doctors that you might want to go to if you're concerned, a developmental pediatrician.
Correct. I know there are some here locally.
There is one around here, and I can't remember her name right off the bat. Yes. There you go. You know, but she's terrific, and I've been to her office, and she's amazing, and she knows so much about what's going on.
Yes.
Also, a neuropsychologist that can do a really thorough evaluation.
So somebody that's like Googling it would Google neuropsychologist, which is different than just a psychologist.
Correct.
But a psychologist.
Psychiatrist.
Yeah. Psychiatrist. Obviously can definitely do that.
Right. Or a neuropsychologist.
Okay.
But somebody that specializes in ADHD is so important that you get the right diagnosis.
Right. Okay. All right. So they have the diagnosis, and then what? Then they would come, let's say they call you. What are they going to do with you? What are your suggestions? We're coming into summertime.
Yeah.
And school here in Palm Beach County ends next week. What are we telling our teenage ADHD kids to do over the summer? How should they handle summertime?
Well, I mean, summertime should be free time. I mean, kids need to run, they need to exercise, but they also need to read. And
what about those that hate reading?
Coming as a teacher and a teacher of special education, I can tell you the best way to get your kids to read is to let them read anything they want. Let them go to the bookstore and pick out whatever book they want, whatever magazine they want.
What about a comic?
A comic is fine in the summer. Let them
enjoy reading.
Now, here's the other tip that I think is super important for parents with ADHD and kids, and you probably give this tip all the time. You need family time, family reading time. And I really suggest, and I've done this personally with my two kids, both with ADHD, and then some, and then some, and then some.
That's how all of us amazing coaches get started.
Definitely.
We just have kids that have problems, and then we solve them, right?
Well, this is something I tried because somebody had recommended it to me. And we turned out, you have to have at least an hour of no screens, nothing.
Just an hour?
Well, try an hour at first.
Right. Okay.
You want to have success. The idea is that they're feeling positive about it.
Okay, so you take away the screen just for 1 hour.
Not take it away, but have a family. Whole family.
So, like, for instance, we don't allow screens at dinner. Would you count that?
No, I'm talking about reading time.
Okay, reading time.
An hour of reading time.
No screen, right.
The whole family, mom, dad, everybody. No screens, and everybody is sitting and reading at the same time. The whole family. So what I did with my kids
so you're not reading together. You're not reading the same book, but you're like around reading.
Right, not reading the same book, but some are reading a newspaper, some are reading a magazine. But what I used to do with my boys is they always had a book they had to read for school. Right. So I would get my book, and I love to read. And hi, Tiffany, how are you?
That's a message.
Oh, okay. I thought it was. So what I used to do with my kids is I always had books to read, so it was good for me too.
Right.
So we would get on the bed, all of us. I would have my boys on either side of me. They would bring their book, and for 1 hour,
that's awesome. I would love that. So what about if they read on their phone? Is that BS? No, they need a physical book.
Especially kids with ADHD. The phone is a huge issue nowadays.
Sure.
Not only is it a huge distraction, but there's so much studies out there that are showing that it's affecting their brain, it's affecting their learning. It also is emotionally affecting them because kids with ADHD, they really think about what other people are thinking about them all the time.
Huh.
It's almost like they're super hyper anxious about what other people are thinking about them.
Interesting.
And so
why is that?
Well, part of it is because they're actually socially 3 years behind. So they're emotionally 3 years behind other kids. So for girls in middle school, it is treacherous, and it really gets in the way of their relationships with other girls. But even when they're not using their screen, they're just very, very concerned about what other people are thinking about them. Are they popular? Do people like them? You know, and it's really, you know, a terrible thing for young kids.
It's a big burden to carry.
Yeah.
It really is.
And I think that there's so much research about it, but I don't think that parents have really grasped onto.
Oh my God, I talk about
the effects of the screen.
The screen, yeah, it's huge. I've said it a million times. I've written about it, that they did a brain scan. I think when I talked about it, that they did a brain scan, and that the scan of a child on their electronics was the same as a scan of on cocaine. The brain scan.
Oh, yeah.
That's so frightening to me. I mean, I don't know how many more times I can refer to it, but I think it's frightening.
And it's 10 times bad for somebody with ADHD. That's the real kicker.
So how do you get the screen away from the ADHD kids?
Well, you have to be the parent. I mean, you have to set rules, and kids want rules. You know, when I was teaching middle school, I was teaching business also. I was the computer teacher in addition to teaching the special ed class. And there was a little boy who was doing inappropriate things on his phone and the computer. And he was 12, 13, and the parents said to me, "What do I do?" I said,
"Take it away."
The phone. And they went, "Oh my gosh,
but he can't scream.
Yeah, he's gonna be mad." And I said,
shock and horror.
I said to the parents, "You're the parent." So I also think that, you know, for parents of really young kids, you know, you're the model. You're the one that sets the tone.
That's what I say. You gotta model what you want them to do.
Yeah, and in the beginning, you have to have limits.
Yeah.
You have to have limits, and you have to stick to them.
Yes.
And that's important with
Consistency.
ADHD. Yeah. But being nice. I mean, in a nice way. You know, the phone is a great reward. You know, if you do your homework, if you do all of your homework tonight, then you can have your phone for an hour.
Absolutely. 100%.
It's a great reward.
Yeah.
I don't think it's a good thing to take away. Like, if you don't do your homework, I'm going to take your phone away.
No, but you can't get it until,
Right. But
I
make it a reward.
What I always tell people is the electronic basket check-in. When your kids get home from school,
Yeah.
put it in a little basket, and you know, I have a checklist, check it off. I'm sure as an ADHD coach, you love that. And it's just, you know, do homework, do your chore, get your backpack ready for tomorrow, make your lunch. Okay, we're good to go. Now you can go and spend your time however you want to. And it is the same thing. You're not taking it away.
Right.
You're just giving it back.
I mean, this is a new problem. This is something that's really in the last 10 years. And nobody really knows what to do with this problem. But it is serious, and it is affecting the way your kids are learning.
Is it making them more ADHD? So because
ADHD, you are born with it.
Born
it
with
is neurological. It is a neurobiological diagnosis, and it is the way that you are. You can't ever
outsmart it.
You can't outsmart it. Some people, their symptoms become very manageable, so they sort of outgrow it. But that's because they've learned to manage their symptoms. They've learned to manage their ADHD.
So is that something that you work on?
Yeah,
is managing their ADHD,
definitely
managing their symptoms. So for somebody who wants to get off medication, if they're on medication, you work with them, and I'm sure give them strategies and things like that, and then see if they can get, as they get older, do you find that they can get off? Or because we had talked about how preferred tasks are easier, maybe once they're in their preferred work and out of college and out of high school.
Well, let's talk a little bit about medication, because I think there's so much stigma and misinformation about medication. I look at ADHD, if somebody has diabetes and they're born with it, it's not because of diet, it's the way they're born.
Type 1 diabetes.
That's right. They would need to take insulin for the rest of their life, and there should be no stigma attached to that. If somebody needs to wear glasses because they can't see, they have to wear glasses, and they might have to wear it for the rest of their life.
Right, their vision
and there should be no
better.
stigma attached to it, and that's the problem. there's so much stigma attached to ADHD meds, and there shouldn't be. There are many different types of ADHD. There are types that are manageable and people can get by just changing, eating a healthy diet, drinking a lot of water, sleeping regularly, limiting screen time. That can all help with the symptoms, but it never cures it.
Okay, so that's really interesting that you say that, because I feel like so many people want to have that, and I think it's interesting that you pointed out that there is a specific type of ADHD that works with, and that's only within that.
If a kid is really struggling in school because of their ADHD, then they need to take medicine. And the medicines that are out there nowadays are so good. Every day, every week, they're coming up with new medications that have very little side effects. They do not have long-term effects like most people think. That's a myth. It's also a myth that it makes them slow, lethargic, or they're not themselves. Totally a myth. People with ADHD are incredibly creative. They're talkative. They're personable. And I've worked with people for 15 years, 16 years, and the medicine isn't changing who they are. It doesn't change their personality.
And if they are on one that does,
then they need a good doctor. Not necessarily off.
No, I mean off that particular medication and try something else.
Or lower dosage. But that's where you have to partner in with an expert. And that's why I say it's so important to get the right doctor that's going to really monitor the meds to make sure you have the best meds.
Which is why a pediatrician would not be the person that you would go to. And I say that to people. If you break a leg, are you having your pediatrician set it? Probably not. You're going to go to an orthopedist.
Right. Now, pediatricians are usually the first line that you go to, and you say, you know what, I'm noticing things. Can you refer me to a specialist? And I do know that there's a lot of pediatricians that are experts in ADHD. And if they are,
then go for it.
Then they will recommend therapy, coaching, CBT, exercise, things like that.
Why don't you explain to people what CBT is? Because
cognitive behavior therapy is a lot like coaching. It's talk therapy, asking questions, completing worksheets, figuring out what potential situations the kids might be in that might be challenging, and how would they handle it in a different way. So that's a lot like what we do as a coach, is just really address what their challenges are and how you can make it easier for them and what they could do, what kind of solutions they can use.
Okay. So we talked about reading. Is there anything else that you would recommend, or even as the school year is coming to an end and things like that?
So let's talk about the older kids. Anybody there with parents with high school kids or college kids? Summertime, super important, because I do a lot of work with this population, is get a job, any job. And it could be volunteering. It doesn't have to be a job for pay. As a matter of fact, when they put it on their resume or they interview for a job in the future, they don't ever have to tell somebody how much money they made. So volunteering is fine, but it's really important that they figure out and learn what they like and what they don't like. Learn about teamwork, about getting along with others, about how to remember people's names, it's all of those social skills and transitional skills. Thank you, Karen. Because what has been happening is these incredibly bright, talented, wonderful people are getting into college, and they're working so hard in college, they're totally overwhelmed. So their parents are saying, oh, you don't have to get a job. Don't worry, the colleges will find you a job. That's not true. It is a lot of competition out there. There are a lot of kids out there, but employers are looking for kids that have had experience. And it's so important. They have to get a job, and that's got to be number one.
How do you motivate them to get a job?
Get a job or else? No.
There you go.
You have to get a job.
That's it.
They have to
get a job. No ifs, ands, or buts.
And so that's where I think you need to start early. make connections. Maybe it's a family friend, maybe it's a school friend, maybe it's a professor. Anybody, walk around the mall. Oh, one tip I can give you about young kids trying to figure out what job to get is, and I did this with one of my clients, and she was in high school, and it was really great. I said, go to a store, go to like Jersey Mike's or Subway or Panera, and just sit there and have an iced tea or a Coke and just look around, watch what they're doing in the back, watch what the people are working, what they're doing, and how they're getting along with each other.
Yeah.
Notice how you feel. For the kid, notice how they feel when they're there.
Okay.
And get a feel like, or if they're at Petco, look around. I could work here. I could
That's
do
a great
that.
idea. Yeah.
Oh, I could do that. I could work in the back line of Brooklyn Bagel or whatever. And that's the way for them to think about.
Feel like what feels good for them. Yeah. That's a great idea.
And there are tons of volunteer. I mean, we have hotels. There are hotel jobs. There are golf course jobs. There's so many things out there. You just have to keep your eyes open and drive around and look. There are doctors' offices that are looking for help. You know, I mean, it's all anything.
Okay.
Anything.
So read.
Reading. Even in the summer, pick something
for
fun.
an hour and get a job.
Yeah.
Any other tip you can think of?
Well, it could be job or volunteer. Here's another. This is a little bit on the same path, but this is something I talk about all the time: is cleaning up your social media footprint. Summer's a good time. Clean it up. If grandma can't look at it, then it shouldn't be on there, because as these kids start to get through high school and apply at colleges are looking at their social media. So clean up your social media footprint.
In hand, my Lord. Yeah. I mean, again, these are problems that we're just not even.
Nobody's telling them. Yeah. It's not the parents' fault, because this is
new. It's all new.
And the parents weren't trained. The parents don't know how to look. They probably don't even look at their social media of their kids, and they should.
Yes. Oh my God, yes.
I'm sure you've talked about that.
Yeah.
The young kids, you really need to watch what they're doing.
Yeah.
But impress upon them to clean up their social media footprint. And really partner with them. Do it in a nice way. Say, let's do it together.
Yeah, would you want your boss seeing this?
Well, yeah. Is this appropriate for grandma? Do you want a college that you're thinking about going to in the future, seeing it? I mean, even FAU, Lynn, even the local colleges, or even going away, they're going to look at social media.
Wow.
So that's a good thing to do.
So if they delete it, it's gone?
It's never gone, but it's better than nothing.
Okay.
So delete, and also to talk to your teenagers about how what they post on social media can be found.
Okay.
Another thing, maybe a high school, if they're a high school senior, I would definitely encourage them to have a LinkedIn profile.
Oh, that's good. That's very good.
Yeah.
Okay. And then, so if the child is a senior going to college next year and they're ADHD, do you have any suggestions for the transition into college life from mommy and daddy's womb? Child, glad I already have a job.
Yeah, it's hard out there. The millennials.
Joe, you worried about your social media footprint? Yeah, that's when you probably said it.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. Yeah. It's a good thing you own your job.
So say that.
So a child that's transitioning from high school to college, if Facebook, a child transitioning from high school to college that's ADHD, going into this whole new thing. What kinds of things? I mean, mom and dad aren't there. What do they do?
Huge thing. It's very hard for mom and dad to let go, of course. But in college,
would that be the first step? Mom and dad let go?
Not yet, unless they're using me, because then if they have a coach, then they can be accountable with that coach and not the parents, and that works beautifully.
Right. Get out of the mix, man. Get out of the mix.
Yeah, it's so true. It just creates so much havoc and stress. The kids are so stressed at college.
becomes an adversarial relationship that you just don't want.
Yeah, it's really hard to get out of it.
Yeah.
The one thing, if your son or daughter has ADHD, what I have seen is that a lot of kids go to college and they don't, if they are on medication while they're in middle school or high school, they're taking medicine, which is fine. There's no stigma to that. Is a lot of college kids go, no, I don't want to take my medicine when I'm there. I don't want anybody to know that I'm taking it. I'm afraid if at the dorm somebody's going to know. And they don't take it. And I think that that's a big, big mistake. They should stay on it. They should stay on it in the summer.
Make sure that you
stay at your best. Also, this is a huge tip, is get accommodations. So you want to make sure that you have an up-to-date neurological evaluation or some evaluation from the doctor. You want to go now to the Office of Disabilities at the college. So this becomes tricky also because a lot of kids don't want to go there. And I understand that. I get it. It's embarrassing. They don't want to go there. They don't know where to go. But you can do a lot of this online. And you can apply for accommodations on the Office of Disabilities. And there are great accommodations in college that most people don't know about that are different from high school.
Ooh.
Should I give one?
Yeah. Do it.
Are you sure? Do you guys want one? You want one of the tips?
I do.
Okay. So one of the tips is note-taking is a real challenge. So you want to make sure that your kids are using as much writing instead of the computer as possible to take notes. But often, if they're going to a big school with a lot of lecture halls, they're getting these PowerPoints are being shown to them. So they're taking notes and then they're transferring it to a PowerPoint, or they're studying the PowerPoint and the notes at the same time, and it's super confusing. So if you have accommodations and you ask for this, okay, you ready? Because they won't offer it, but this is the big tip. And you will get it when you ask, because they can't say no.
All you need is a diagnosis.
That's right. You need, well, they'll tell you on the website of each college is different. So you have to get a certain amount of doctor's note or whatever they want.
I mean, if you get a psycho evaluation, you're good to go.
Right, exactly. Ask them to make this an accommodation where the student gets the PowerPoint emailed to them 3 hours before their class. So they can print it and write their notes right on the PowerPoint. I'm telling you, it's saved so many clients.
It's just, and the thing is that it just helps so much. So I think that's a really good, just go see the office of...
Yeah, well, you want extra time.
Yeah.
You want to be able to take tests in a different location if you want. And that's, again, in college, it's really up to the student to use those accommodations.
Yeah.
The other accommodation is asked to be able to record the lesson. Because even in college, everybody's got their cell phones. There are some professors that are old school that don't want any cell phone use, any recording. So you want to get it in an accommodation where the professors know.
No choice. Right, they have to.
Yeah.
They have to say.
And you can also get note takers. You can get books on tape. There's so many creative accommodations in college.
And I love that you said that a lot of that can be done online because, number one, trusting that the child will get there himself or herself, never going to happen.
Yeah.
And, doing it ahead of time and making sure. And for those kids that are not going into college, making sure that you are showing your child how to advocate for themselves ahead of time.
And that's where the coaching comes in, really helps, is we practice.
Yeah.
I talk to my clients and go, what do you think is going to be the challenge for you to go to that office? Well, I'm afraid they're not going to, I don't want to be judged. I don't want to tell anybody. So we kind of address all of those, misconceptions.
Which is amazing because parents were like, go, just do it.
Yeah.
We don't wonder what they're feeling.
Right.
And
that's not, and
just
it's not
do
easy.
what I tell you to do.
It's not easy.
Yeah.
It's really,
not
for
easy
some
them.
kids, it's torture.
Wow.
For them to even go to the professor, even walk up to a professor and talk to a professor can be really tough.
I'm sure. Wow, so those are all the things that Lynn suggests, and she does all of that.
Hi,
and
Mercedes.
much, much more. So if you want to talk to Lynn a little bit more, like I said, you do not have to live in South Florida in order to utilize her services.
Yeah, I do everything over video broadcasting.
Yeah.
So I have clients all over the country.
Which is amazing. Isn't technology
Yeah,
grand?
it is great. The millennials love it. You know,
Yeah.
we're not used to it,
Yeah,
but
yeah.
the kids love doing it that way.
So
hey, Marcos.
Hi Marcos. So I'm gonna
Any
I put
questions?
her
My
website, thank you, website in there. For whatever reason I couldn't link her page, but I'll put it in the comments section. And if anybody has any questions after this is after we finish, you guys can just write it in the comments and Lynn will be tagged so she can answer any questions that you guys have. But God, I think it's so amazing. I really, really do. Those kids, you know, they get yelled at, screamed at, and
their whole life.
Their
self-confidence is just crushed, and you know, their whole life they're hearing, "I'm lazy, I'm stupid." These kids are amazing. They're not lazy. They don't do it on purpose. They have so many talents and abilities, and they are the best entrepreneurs. They think outside the box. You know, they're like super creative, and I'm sure any of you parents out there that have kids know what I'm talking about as somebody that's just always going and thinking, and they have to learn how to manage it for them.
I always say you have to learn how to work with all of your assets and minimize your deficiencies. So that's what Lynn does. All right. Well, you guys, thank you so much. As I said, I'm going to tag Lynn. Look, it went on like nighttime mode.
Oh, okay.
That's why we're yellow all of a sudden. I am going to tag Lynn in this, and I hope you guys have an awesome weekend.
Thank you so much for having me. This was so fun. I really appreciate it.
All righty. All right, you guys, I will talk to you later. And this weekend is Karen's birthday. Karen, are you turning 21, love? Karen's turning 21. Big celebration.
Is she
Sunday.
really turning 21?
No. Oh, hell no, she's not turning 21. She looks 21.
Well, happy birthday, Karen.
Is in the health of a 21-year-old, but has 4 kids. Anyway, all right, you guys. Yeah, it ain't no joke. All right, you guys, I will see you next week.
Bye. Thanks for having me.
Good night.